This is Tintin Abbey, the second part. For watching the first part, go to the link given in the description. Wordsworth refers his early visit in 1793 in this stanza. He recalls the memories, but the memories are now faint. But gradually he revives the memories and he can feel the difference in the earlier visit and now after 5 years the second visit. Wordsworth says that in his early visit he enjoyed the beauties of nature like a roe. He kept running, leaping, roaming, wrestling. He behaved just like a roe. But now, as a mature man, he has come to nature as a devotee and worshipper. In 1793, Wordsworth was only 23 years old. Now, after 5 years, he is 28 years old. In his next 20s, his attitude has been grown up towards nature. Now he is a mature person and he himself is sensing the difference between his approach towards nature. At that time, he ran along with the banks of the river, along with the water streams. He ran over wherever nature led to him. He ran over hither and thither out of fear. But now, as a matured man, he began to feel the benign influence of nature, the note of sadness in nature. This note of sadness is not harsh, but it has a soft tinge in it for mankind. Of the deep rivers and the lonely streams wherever nature led, more like a man flying from something that he dreads than one who sought the thing he loved for nature then. To me was all in all. I cannot paint what then I was. The sounding cataract haunted me like a passion. The tall rock, the mountain, and the deep and the gloomy wood. Their color and their forms were then to me an appetite, a feeling, and a love that had no need of a remoter charm. By thought supplied, not any interest, unborrowed from the eye. That time is past, and all its aching joys, and now no more, and all its dizzy raptures, not for this faint eye, nor mourn, nor murmur, other gifts have followed. For such loss, oh, I would believe abundant recompense, for I have learned to look on nature, not as in the hour of thoughtless youth, but hearing oftentimes the still sad music of humanity. Wordsworth says that he cannot exactly paint how he was earlier, but one thing is sure, that at that time water streams, the sounds of water streams chased and pursued him like a strong emotion, strong desire. Now, the mountains and the rivers had enchanted him only as beautiful pictures. But now, he again has an appetite and curiosity for nature. No doubt, he borrows the scenes from nature in his solitude, and nevertheless that time is past. His perspective, his outlook has changed now, but he does not mourn the passing of that time. This time also he is able to enjoy the nature's beauty, but only the difference in his attitude has taken place. He is not sad on having lost his youthful days. He is again enjoying the harmless company of nature, its raptures, its enchantment, its murmuring sound, its captivating beauty. But now his attitude is somewhat matured. At that time he was a thoughtless youth that were boyish pleasures. Now he has experiences of life, and these bittersweet experiences of life have brought a change in Wordsworth's attitude towards nature. Now he can sense the sadness of humanity in the objects of nature. These sad moments bring a kind of refinement in human beings. Nature is just like a guardian. If it is kind towards human beings, it also punishes and tracks the human being on right path. For that purpose, nature sometimes punishes us. Wordsworth is indicating this quality of guardianship of nature in this stanza. He says that nature has elevated his thoughts. It has uplifted his soul. Now, we'll continue with next lines. Of something far more deeply interfused, whose dwelling is the light of setting sun and the round ocean and the living air and the blue sky, and in the mind of man, a motion and a spirit that impulse all thinking things, all objects of all thought, and rolls through all things. Therefore am I still a lover of the meadows and the woods and mountains, and of all that we behold from this green earth, of all the mighty world, of eye and ear, both what they half create and what perceive, well pleased to recognize in nature and the language of the sense, the anchor of my purest thoughts, the nurse, the guide, the guardian of my heart and soul, of all my moral being. Wordsworth describes the setting suns, the round ocean, and the pleasing and living healthy air of the sea, of the sight. There is beautiful blue sky, and he can remember all these things in his mind's eye. He thinks that all these objects are nature, are having a kind of light in themselves, are having a life in themselves. And this divine light is rolling in all these objects of nature. Still, Wordsworth is a lover of greenery, meadows, and the fields. He refers this green world to a kind of mighty world of nature. And one should have an eye and ear to feel this divine light. Wordsworth says that nature understands the language of senses. Nature has been a kind of friend to him, a kind of nurse who provides him soothing effect, who consoles him, who teach him the lessons of morality, as well as it acts like an anchor of his purest thoughts. It motivates him in the moments of pessimism. And in this way, nature has created the moral character of Wordsworth. Nor perchance, if I were not thus taught, should I the more suffer my genial spirits to decay. For thou art with me here upon the banks of this fair river, thou my dearest friend, my dear, dear friend, and in thy voice I catch the language of my former heart, and read my former pleasures in the shooting lights of thy wild eyes. Wordsworth is saying that had he not got such guidance from nature, he might deteriorate into a degenerate condition. Now he refers his dear sister Dorothy. He is calling him a friend. His sister was a very good friend to him, and he says that Dorothy is visiting this place at first time. So he finds in Wordsworth his former image. When he came first time to this place, the language of his heart he finds in Dorothy. He can catch the divine light in Dorothy's eyes. Oh, yet a little while may I behold in thee what I was once, my dear, dear sister, and this prayer I make, knowing that nature never did betray the heart that loved her. It's her privilege through all the years of this our life to lead from joy to joy. Wordsworth assures Dorothy that if she will love nature, if she will trust nature, nature never will betray her. Because those who come to nature, nature gives them love. Nature never betrays like human beings. So Wordsworth suggests and motivates his sister to come into the lap of Mother Nature so that she can lighten her sorrows. Through all the years of this our life to lead from joy to joy, for she can so inform the mind that is within us, so impress with quietness and beauty, and so fill with lofty thoughts, that neither evil tongues, rash judgments, nor the sneers of selfish men, nor greeting where no kindness is, nor all the dreary intercourse of daily life shall over prevail against us or disturb our cheerful faith, that all which we behold is full of blessings. Wordsworth urges his sister to imbibe this quietness and beauty of the scenes into her soul, so that they will find an unending source of joy in their memory from these scenes for their future life, and they will lead their future life from joy to joy. It will make their life better. They will not be affected with the frets of the daily life, with its lies, deceits, betrayals of this world. They will have a kind of upliftment in the lap of Mother Nature. And this benign influence of nature will not harm their faith. Therefore, let the moon shine on thee in the solitary walk, and let the misty mountain winds be free to blow against thee. And in after years, when these wild ecstasies shall be matured into a sober pleasure, when thy mind shall be a mansion for all lovely forms, thy memory be as a dwelling place for all sweet sounds and harmonies. O then, if solitude over fear or pain or grief should be thy portion, with what healing thoughts. Wordsworth says his sister Dorothy that she should walk in the moonlight, she should enjoy the fresh air of the atmosphere, she should collect as many blessings from nature as she can, so that it will be helpful for her in future. Her body and mind will become just like a mansion where all positive and pleasurable things will be collected, and it will help her in life whenever she will feel sorrow, because sorrows and problems in life are unavoidable. We can do only to make our life comfortable is we can take motivation from nature, we can take soothing experiences from nature. Of tender joy wilt thou remember me, and these my exhortation, nor perchance if I should be where I no more can hear thy voice, nor catch from thy wild eyes these gleams of past existence, wilt thou then forget that on the banks of this delightful stream we stood together, and that I, so long a worshipper of nature, hither came unworried in that service, rather say with warmer love, oh, with far deeper zeal of holier love. Nor wilt thou then forget that after many wanderings, many years of absence, these steep woods and lofty cliffs and this green pastoral landscape were to me more dear both for themselves and for thy sake. Wordsworth is giving a great teaching to his sister Dorothy that if she gathers these tender joys of nature within herself, so it will support her in life when Wordsworth will be no more. If Wordsworth dies, then only she can come to Tintern Abbey, she can feel the presence of his dear brother in the beautiful objects of this natural place. In this way, she will always feel a divine presence of his brother beside her. Wordsworth says that your voice can catch the glimpse, your eyes can catch the light of these glimpses, your past existence, and these teachings will help you to lead a moral life in future. And you will also feel yourself like a devotee, as I have come to the nature as a worshipper of nature. You will have a warmer feeling of love with deeper zeal, and your feelings will be more holy from this influence of nature. And you will not forget the teachings and these comforting and soothing effect of nature for long times. After absence of many years also, you will be able to feel this lofty and high cliffs, this beautiful river, these meadows, this greenery, every object of this beautiful wood, this beautiful forest place, this pastoral landscape. And Wordsworth says that all these natural objects are dear to me, more dear to me because of your presence. When we visit some place in the company of our near and dear ones, they seem us more beautiful, more comfortable, more captivating. In this way, Wordsworth has described nature as the best medium to get rid of all this fretful fever of this world, hustle bustle of life, humdrum of life. The world is tormented because of its sick hurry and divided aim, but nature will always prove best doctor with its healing influence. Good luck, students. This was the poem Tintern Abbey which we studied today. Its form is blank verse. It contains around 160 lines. Wordsworth has tried to pour out his soul into this poem, and this poem traces the maturity in the attitude of poet towards nature. Good luck, study well.